It's Brandon Courtlin, happy to be joined on the phone today by comedian Jeff Foxworthy.
Legendary comedian. You forgot a word there.
I'm sorry.
Now, Courtlin, does that just mean old if you're legendary now? So.
Not necessarily, but sometimes they go hand in hand. Are you saying that you're old?
I don't feel old.
Good. You don't act old.
No, I don't feel old at all. I mean, I still feel like I'm winning the war against maturity, but...
It's an ongoing battle,
Brain's
right?
doing it, too.
Well, I mean, seriously, like the other night I was pumping gas and I looked around like, I have a credit card. Because in your mind you're like 17 all the time. So.
Jeff going to be in town with Larry the Cable Guy, U.S. Cellular Center, the show March 20th. Tickets go on sale Friday morning. And Jeff, we're pumped to have you back in the Midwest and in Iowa.
Well, Iowa has always been a fun place for me. I remember, doing the Funny Bone in Des Moines many times in Cedar Rapids, and it's the people that Larry and I aim for. We're not really hip and on the cutting edge in New York and L.A., so we just go right in the middle, and that's our folks.
That's where we are.
People here are very welcoming.
They are, and and I think that it's kind of amazing to me. Like, if you look back, the highest-rated thing in the history of the Comedy Channel is the Blue Collar Comedy Tour. Well, it wasn't a New York or an L.A. thing. It was, and that's always been my explanation. It was like, there's a whole lot of people between New York and L.A. that aren't hip and aren't cool, and they don't really want to be. They're just normal people, and that's who we always aimed after.
With the success of Blue Collar and the success of your career, Jeff, I think it's cool that you're still out touring and you're out doing it because clearly you love doing it.
I do. And it was amazing to me early in my career when you would look at people that were still out there doing it. I remember 20 years ago reading that Cosby was worth $1 billion, and you're like, why is he ain't doing it for the money.
Yeah.
He's just doing it because he loves to do it.
Mm-hmm.
And that's kind of the way I am. And I've been blessed to do a lot of different things, whether it's books or TV shows or movies. But if you ever put a gun to my head and said you can't do but one thing, it would always be stand-up. Stand-up's just it's a weird bird. And I tell my country music friends, I said, we're the opposite, because if you write 5 hits, you play to your 90. But if I do a blue-collar tour or a HBO special or an album, as soon as people hear comedy, they're like, okay, that's great. What have you got that's new? So,
Yeah.
And so you're constantly having, to create. But, Lord, it's fun. And so Larry and I worked together in December in Vegas, and at the end of I said, what are we going to do at the end? He said, let's just take the stools out and take questions. And I thought, oh, this is going to be
That always goes well.
And it was great. It was so much fun, and we ended up laughing so much. And so he said at the end of the night, he goes, we need to do a tour like this. And I said, all right, but if we're going to do it, we both got to write a new hour. You got to have all new stuff for people. And he said, oh, Lord, I got to start thinking, which is how it became the We've Been Thinking tour. But, and so we both do brand new stand-up nobody has seen for an hour, and then we bring the stools out and take questions. And I am having more fun doing comedy than I've had since the early days of Blue Collar.
Well, you have an endless supply of material when you have audience participation like that.
Well, you do, and it's funny because I never sit down and think, what's funny? I just kind of assume, hey, if I think something or my wife says it or my family does it, surely we're not the only ones. And so if you go listen to an album or watch a special, it's always been kind of a snapshot of what was going on in my life that year. And so that's what I'm talking about these days because, my wife and I have become empty nesters, which it's not what I envision because as soon as you're done taking care of the kids, you start taking care of the parents. And I'm pretty sure they passed each other in the driveway.
Yeah.
And so, like in this world we live in, I said, technology-wise, we're in the middle because our parents can't text and our kids can't write. and my kids don't even think you need to study. They're, Dad, you just Google it. And I'm like, no, there's a ton of things you only learn the hard way through life experience. And there's a ton of things you can't Google, like this. Here's the thing you learn the hard way. If you're trying to get to the bathroom in an emergency situation, it is not a wise idea to unbutton your pants in transit in the effort to save a couple of seconds. because the muscles that guard the floodgates will interpret the unbuttoning as the signal to abandon their post. And the 2 seconds you saved on the button are nullified by the hour and a half you spend mopping and doing laundry.
And you don't learn that on Google.
You don't learn that on Google. You only learn it the hard way.
Wow.
Oh, my God. Jeff Foxworthy joining us this morning here at KHAK. It's Brandon Courtlin. Jeff going to be in town with Larry the Cable Guy on March 20th. Tickets go on sale Friday morning.
Well, we did that so they could be a Christmas present for somebody. So.
Yeah, that's
that
very
works out
thoughtful.
really good.
That's very thoughtful. Mm-hmm. You've got 2 daughters, is that right, Jeff?
I do, yeah. I live next door to my brother who has 3. So.
Oh, my God. I have 2 daughters myself, and...
Which is why you do radio. It's just for the opportunity to say something. So,
well, mine are fairly young yet, but I have told my wife when they hit the teen years, I'm probably going to get an apartment. And just maybe live somewhere else for a few years.
Now, how old are yours?
Mine are 5 and 7.
Okay, you got a little ways to go.
Okay.
But here's another one of those facts of life that I've learned living in a house with all these women. Here's a fact of life. Women always have more questions than men have answers to.
Yeah.
That's very true.
A couple of weeks ago, I get a text. It says, please pray for Tom. He was in a bad wreck. So I'll go and find my wife in the kitchen. I said, hey, I just got a text that said, please pray for Tom. He was in a bad wreck. She said, was he driving? I said, I don't know. I just got a text that said, please pray for Tom. He was in a bad wreck. She said, were Carol and the kids in the car with him? I said, I don't know. I just got a text that said, please pray for Tom. He was in a bad wreck. Were the people in the other car hurt? I don't know. I just got a text that said, please pray for Tom. What hospital did they take? I don't know. I just got a text that said, please pray for Tom. He was in a bad wreck.
It's funny because when you first said that, my initial thought was, well, what happened?
Exactly. Yes. And she's like, you don't know anything. What do you know? And I said, I know you need to pray for Tom. I just got a text that said he was in a bad wreck. I'm not holding anything back. That's all I got.
Yeah. I can't deny that. It's very true.
Y'all are curious creatures.
We just like to know everything.
You like to know.
And you're asking people that don't know anything.
Maybe you should learn more, and then this will work out.
Before we report, yes.
Yes, that's probably our fault.
Well, you knew it was going to be, Brent. Come on.
Hey, Jeff, we're stoked to have you back in Cedar Rapids. What are some other things that you've noticed about Midwesterners and about Iowans, maybe in general, in the time that you spent here in the state before?
They have a pulse on reality, which is part of what I love. And here's the thing: people probably don't know about me, but unlike Seinfeld, who I love, but Jerry's got 100 Porsches that he drives around. If I'm not working, I'm on a farm. I plant about 400 acres a year of corn. So if you can't find me, I'm on a tractor somewhere. That's kind of my escape. So I blend in real well. When I'm in Iowa, I'm like, can we just go look at the tractors, please? Yeah, that's why I continue to work, is I have a little bit of a tractor fetish these days. So.
Well, Jeff, thanks for taking the time and chatting with us this morning, and we can't wait to see you when you're back in Cedar Rapids with Larry on March 20th.
Can't wait to be there. It's such a fun show. We did a thing for Veterans Day in Branson and sold out 2 shows. And
That's awesome.
It was just so cool, but it's like the early blue collar in that at the end of the night, you say goodnight, and everybody stands up, and we just kind of look at each other and giggle and go, can you believe they pay us for this? This is crazy. So we're having a ball.
Well, hopefully we'll get to meet you while you're here.
Oh,
I would love to.
that. I would love that.
Awesome. Jeff, thanks for joining us. Continued success. We'll see you in March.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it. Y'all have a great weekend.
Yep, you too. Thank you.
All right. Bye-bye.